So after 12 months, is the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro still the king of action cameras? Well, yes it is, but it does come with a bit of a catch. And in this video, I'm going to give you an honest rundown of my first 12 months or 365 days with this little camera, the Osmo Action 5 Pro. Now, this isn't just some video of like, oh, I've had this camera for a weekend and this is what I discovered. No, I've used this camera in lots of different situations, in lots of different conditions, when it's been really hot and when it's been cold. I've actually plonked it under the water. I've attached it to my car and driven around town. I've even attached it to a runaway dog. I've tested all the modes as well too, time-lapse, hyperlapse, relapse, that was something else, pre-record, all the different kind of modes I could get my hands on as I really wanted to put this camera to the test. Now, I want to let you know too that I bought this camera with my very own money. DJI didn't pay me any money. No one paid me any money, but DJI, if you are listening and you want to hand over some cashola, just drop a comment down below. Now, this video is just intended to capture my own personal experience of using this camera here, the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, the good, the bad, and the somewhere in the middle. All right, so let's kick off with the good. Now, one of the really good things about this camera is the battery life. It's actually really, really impressive. According to DJI, you can get up to 4 hours of battery life with this little bad boy. But hold your horses there a little bit. That's when you're filming at 1080p at 24 frames per second, and that's in a controlled environment. So 25 degrees Celsius, everything's very controlled, and the Wi-Fi's turned off and your rear screen is turned off. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like real life to me. I normally shoot at 4K and 30 frames per second. So forget about 1080p. No one really uses that too much anymore. But probably the best example I can give you is a few months ago, my wife and I, we drove up to a small town called Burra, which is about 2 hours north of here from Adelaide. And this camera was recording pretty much the whole time. We were using hyperlapse as we cruised along. It was a stupid hot day. It was probably about 35 degrees. It was probably hotter in the front of the car. This was attached to the windshield, so it's getting like a lot of direct sunlight. And I was still able to get over 2.5 hours worth of battery life out of the one battery, which I thought was pretty extraordinary. Now, a couple of things to kind of consider here is when it's hot, your battery is working harder, and when you're using something like hyperlapse, your camera is actually drawing on more battery and more processing power than normal as well. And I personally thought that in those conditions, the battery performed really, really well. Now, another thing I like about the battery on this one here is it's got fast charging properties as well. So what that means is if you hook it up to a fast charger, after about 15 minutes, you can get about 2 hours of battery life for your camera, or up to 2 hours, which is pretty great. One more thing that I really like is that the battery they've used in this camera here will also fit in the previous models of this camera. So if you have an Osmo Action 4 or an Osmo Action 3, this battery will actually fit in there as well. They haven't changed the battery type. Now, DJI is great for doing this. Even the brand new 360 camera they've just released, the Osmo 360, also uses the same batteries. GoPro with the GoPro Hero 13, which came out last year, had a completely different battery format than the previous cameras, which means anyone who's had a GoPro camera in the past would have to buy more batteries of this new size if they were going to do that upgrade last year. So that's one thing that I really like about DJI, as well as the great battery life, the fact that they kept the same format and they didn't inconvenience their customers in quite the same way that GoPro did. Another thing I really like about the camera is how durable it is and how tough it has been. I've given this camera, put it through a bit of punishment in the past 12 months. It's been under the water, it's been splashed on. I've actually, like I said, attached it to a dog. Actually, my dog, he was wearing it too low one day, even dragged it on the ground, but the camera kept on rocking and kept on filming. And that to me is something that I look for in a good action camera. It really is a reliable camera. In the whole 12 months I've had it, I think it's only frozen on me like one time. And that's actually pretty extraordinary because, like I said, I'm using this every week when I go out and about. I'm always taking this little camera with me. In comparison, the GoPros I've had in the past, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times they have frozen on me or messed up on me when I've needed them most. The Hero 9 was a nightmare. The Hero 12 wasn't too bad, but still, they all pale in comparison when it comes to reliability compared to this camera. This camera is super user-friendly, and that's another reason why I really like it. The touchscreen is super reliable. It's really responsive to your touch, unlike the GoPros that I've used in the past. By the way, I'm not just ragging on GoPros here. I do like my GoPro cameras. I've had a lot of enjoyment out of them over the years, but when you compare the GoPro, where you sometimes have to really push hard on the back of the screen to get something to happen, this one here has been an absolute dream. All right, and the camera actually has a decent sized sensor. It's got over 1/1.3 inch sensor, or the sensor size is 1/1.3, which is the same size as the Osmo Action 4, which came out in 2023, but it's still bigger than last year's GoPro Hero 9, which is like 1/1.9. And because it's got that bigger sensor, it means it's able to capture more light in the image. Now, another thing I really like about it is how you can quickly and easily go in and change the settings to the settings that you want to use in manual mode. In manual mode, you can adjust the shutter speed, you can adjust the ISO, the exposure, and that's another great feature of this camera, and one of the reasons why it is so user-friendly. It also has settings there too, where you can actually adjust the audio settings quickly and easily. The wind reduction on here is very good. I made a video about that a short while ago. It's quite extraordinary how just with this, with the onboard mics on the camera, how you can really make a difference by using the settings that are easily to access on this camera here from DJI. One thing that I use all the time on here, which I really like, is the voice control or the voice commands. This camera is really responsive. You can choose from one of several different languages to use, but I know that from using English, it actually picks up the sound of my weird Australian accent really quickly and really easily, and I rarely have issues with the voice control on here. It only has a limited number of commands. There's like 4 of them, but I think that's perfect for like really most situations that you're gonna be in when you're out recording with your camera. So that's another thing that I really like about the Osmo Action 5 Pro. I found the image quality to be really impressive as well. There's a few different settings you can use. You can use 8-bit color, 10-bit, which is very good. There's also 10-bit HLG, which is like broadcast quality, and even D-Log if you want to sort of get into nitty-gritty there. D-Log, of course, is a sort of setting that you would use, say, if you want to do color grading down the track or when you're in the editing suite. So it gives you all those different options, which is pretty awesome. The highest resolution it goes up to is 4K at an aspect ratio of 4:3. Now, other action cameras go up higher than that. Some even go up to 8K. But I think for most purposes, 4K is actually a pretty decent resolution. And when you have like a bigger file size, like a 5.3K or an 8K, it's going to take up more space on your SD card. And sometimes if you're using a PC or a Mac, for example, which is a bit older, they can sometimes struggle with the larger file sizes in the editing suite. So for my mind, 4K at up to 4 aspect ratio of 4:3 is probably as good as you're going to need in most cases. Another thing that was the first for any action camera was the onboard storage. Now, the Osmo Action 5 Pro comes with 64 gig of onboard storage where you can actually film onto your camera even if you forget your SD card or leave it at home. And this has happened to me a couple of times when I've been out and about, and there's nothing more annoying than being out and about and realizing, oh my God, I've forgotten the SD card. But this has been a lifesaver in a few situations, and I really appreciate the fact that there is 64 gig of space on here, which actually comes down to 47 gig, but that's still like enough to get you out of trouble. And that's another one of the features that I think is a bit of a winner with this camera. So now we're going to talk about the things which are maybe not necessarily bad, but not so good or not so great. And one of them I'm going to talk about is the DJI MIMO app. Now, this thing is good and not so good. It's actually a really good little app to kind of use with connecting with your camera. And you can actually use the app fantastic when it comes to like using it for monitoring purposes as well. It's got some great little editing options in there. I made a video about this app a while ago. I'll put a link in the description down below. But one major bugbear of mine is when it comes to live streaming via the app. If you want to live stream to YouTube, it just doesn't work. If you've seen a couple of my recent videos, you'll realize I tried live streaming with this bad boy and it seemed like it was working fine, but then later on when I looked at it on YouTube, it wasn't working. The camera was telling me it was working, the app was telling me it was recording, but it did not work at all. And that was a massive pain in the neck. I did find a solution, and I'll put a video where I did find a solution down below. I used this website called Restream, and I was able to use real-time messaging protocol to live stream in the end, and that was quite successful. But that is one thing that I find a bit annoying, and I really hope that DJI provides an update to that app soon where they can sort out that problem. Another thing I want to talk about, which is good, but kind of not so good at the same time, is like the mounting system with the Osmo Action 5 Pro. Now, for the last couple of generations of this camera, they've had like a magnetic mount, which is fantastic. And it means that you can quickly and easily grip onto your camera and it won't let go. But the thing is, a lot of action camera accessories have the traditional GoPro style of feet, or those little two-prong things which the camera sits into. And it means you've always got to make sure you have your little adapter with you at all times if you want to use one of those accessories. So that can be a bit of a pain. You have to go out and buy more of them. Like 2 of them come with the adventure combo, but really 2 is not always enough. And so you have to go and buy some more accessories, which can be a bit of annoying and can be costly. Another thing that is a bit annoying is look at the bottom of the camera here. It doesn't have a 1/4-inch mount. If you want to mount this camera or attach it to a traditional tripod, you're going to be out of luck. And that's one thing which the last couple of generations of GoPro have had, and I wish that that was with this camera. However, I have found a solution, and yes, it did cost me about $25 for 2 of them on Amazon, but this little unit here is a little attachment that I can actually attach quickly and easily to the bottom of the camera, and it's magnetic as well. So we have a look here, like so. Now, a cool thing about this little adapter is it has the little GoPro style of feet that you can just kind of pull out. So you can use it on like a traditional action camera accessory, or you can have that flat. Another really cool thing about this accessory, which I love, is it has that 1/4-inch mount that I was talking about that I was missing on this camera. So this little donkey here, this little item here, like I said, I got 2 for about $26 from Amazon or eBay, and I'll put a link to them in the description down below. I've actually found these to be lifesavers. They're super light, they're small, and they're compact, and they're worth their weight in gold. Now, the Osmo Action 5 Pro comes with this awesome feature called Super Night, which I really like, and it actually does a pretty decent job. It's not perfect. It's never going to be as good as a SLR or a DSLR or a mirrorless, or maybe even your smartphone when it comes to filming at night, but it does a pretty good job in It does a pretty good job in low light situations, and it's definitely better than a lot of other cameras that I've used. It does, like I said, it has that bigger sensor, the 1/1.3, and with this mode, you can actually get some pretty decent footage. When I was on holiday in Sydney last year, I filmed some really nice footage with some Christmas lights that I was pretty happy with. However, sometimes it can make the skin tones look the skin look a little bit kind of flat and a little bit animated. It's a bit of a downside with it. And also your rock steady function, your stabilization function does kind of struggle a bit in the lower light. Hopefully for future versions of this camera will have a bigger sensor, and that's going to make things like filming in low light a much more pleasurable viewing experience. I've already mentioned the storage on this camera. I do love that feature. However, as I said, it's 64 gig of storage is what they've advertised, but with all the different bits and pieces they have on there, the software or the applications they need actually drags that down to 47 gigs. So you actually do lose a little bit there. So although it's a great feature, I just wish that there was actually more to play around with. I know the new Osmo 360 that's just come out has a lot more onboard storage. So hopefully this is something that DJI is going to keep running with in the future. Increasing the size of that storage, I think would be a great suggestion for future models of this camera. Now, if you're looking like for a fancy kind of maybe slightly gimmicky modes like you might have had on the GoPro, like say for example, light trails or star trails or light painting, or vehicle lights rather, you're not going to find them here on this camera. The camera does give you like a lot of versatility where you can actually mess around with some of the settings if you want to do a bit of research on that, but they're not going to come straight with the cameras. One thing the camera is missing compared to a GoPro is GPS. Now, GPS is something that not everybody uses, but if you're like someone who does cycling or maybe running, or maybe you want to kind of track your route when you're driving a very fast car with a hotted up exhaust, well, now that's something that you'll be looking for in an action camera. You can buy an accessory which will connect with this camera, but that's an added cost. So that's a bit of a bummer how it doesn't have GPS tracking involved with this camera. Now, I said in the start of this video that this is overall very, very good camera, but it does come with a catch. If you want to, attach an external microphone to this camera, then you are gonna be in a little bit of hurt unless you buy one of DJI's products. Now, DJI makes the Mic Mini, they also make the DJI Mic 2 and the recently released DJI Mic 3. Which are little wireless microphones that you can actually use, and they quickly and they easily pair with this camera. They're phenomenal and the sound quality they get is great, but it's an added expense. And it just means that once you buy into the DJI ecosystem when it comes to this camera, it's a bit hard to kind of buy like a third-party brand and connect it with the camera. Well, that's from my experience anyway. Hey, before someone comes on here and says, I don't know what I'm talking about, you can buy other products from other companies which you can attach to your DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro camera. You are correct. There are other accessories you can buy from other companies, but when you attach it to your camera, it does look kind of big and kind of clunky. And the point I was trying to raise is it makes life so much easier if you just buy something from DJI's ecosystem, like their Mic Mini or the Mic 2 or the brand new Mic 3. And that's what they sort of encourage you to do once you buy into one of their products. Like Apple does the same, and that's one thing, that's the point I was trying to raise in this part of the video. So after 12 months, would I still recommend this camera? Well, the answer is a big, fat, juicy yes. I have put this camera through its paces the last 12 months. I've put it through a bit of punishment. I've really tested it out, and I am still really, really impressed with this camera. It's still one of my favorite devices I've ever bought. And for many, many years, I was a big GoPro supporter. I bought about 4 different GoPro cameras. I still like them, but this has just been so much more reliable. It doesn't overheat on me. It doesn't freeze on me. It doesn't break down on me. And I'll tell you a story. When I was trying to start to film this video, I wanted to use my GoPro Hero 11, which is my favorite GoPro, by the way. Trying to use my GoPro Hero 11, and it kept on freezing on me. The battery, I changed it out. The camera kept on freezing. I was able to kind of, record via the app, but the camera itself was just absolutely playing up, and I was ready to throw it out the window. I've never had that sort of experience with this camera here, the Osmo Action 5 Pro. For me, it's been a dream camera to use for the last 12 months, and like I said, I would definitely still recommend this camera. But hey, enough about me. I want to hear from you. What's been your experiences with this camera here, if you have one? Let me know in the comments section down below. I want to hear the good, I want to hear the bad, and I want to hear the ugly if you've had any ugly experiences. And in the meantime, if you have enjoyed this video, if you've got something out of it, maybe you've even been entertained a little bit. I don't know how I managed that, but if that's possible, please hit the like and the subscribe buttons. Just doing these couple little small things really helps the growth of my little channel, and it helps me get this video out to more people so they can learn how to get the most out of their awesome action camera like this one here, the Osmo Action 5 Pro. If you want to learn more about this camera, and as you can tell, I'm a pretty big fan, you want to click on this video over here now. Thanks for your company. I'll see you in the next video.